show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Bass in your face. Bass in your face.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. For the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, why is it called Uncommon Sense? Because here on this platform, we discuss every day where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone is logic. That reason is called Uncommon Sense. I also have another YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora, discuss issues pertaining to Latino in the United States. The link to that channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently on Facebook and Instagram, and the subscriber mode has been enabled for the first 5 minutes. If you're not a subscriber, and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you must be a subscriber into the live. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who already subscribed to the channel, whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or recently joined. I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. And being that this is Friday night, we're going to have another episode of Open Session. And for those of you who are not familiar, what I do is I'll share my views regarding several topics. You will have the opportunity to opine regarding each topic which I will discuss. Also, if you have anything that you would like me to discuss, I will do to comply. If it's something I have knowledge, I'll be transparent. Please bear in mind there's some topics I prefer to get into because it's too controversial, or people are not able to have discussions in a mature manner. So with that said, just say the link to join the panel. Sure, everyone wishes to hear anything that we will discuss tonight, we may do so. However, if I've never seen you before, if I never heard you before, we'll insist that you come up backstage, sure that no one flashes any of the content, which will cause people up you to the table. Once are going to comply within my guidelines. Now, let me just, before we continue, let me just what's the next week's schedule. As usual, I'll do my 4 lives, which will be done Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday. For the first 3 nights, I'll be on at 5. The other one, I'll be on at 10:15. Generally, what I do is I do on my new channel, and then while on my other channel, Thursday or Saturday, have to play it by ear. I will let you know as soon as I So, the first I want to discuss with you is I cannot believe that there are women that feel the need to dress like three, four at a family. And let me explain to you. In a lot of controversy regarding rodeo, which is an event talk about agriculture and things of that nature, and it is really a family event. Children are in attendance. Unfortunately, there are some, and I use the term women. And, and before I continue, let me just make this perfectly clear. I'm not saying all Black women do this. Unfortunately, women that's been found guilty of doing this for Black women. And it's just that there are Black women that have the need of this with short and showing their butt breasts, basically in half naked uh, in the presence of children. And, and I think one person who was a female said that it was creepy, it was cringy, and predatory for these, and I'll use the term loosely, women to dress like three or fours. So much so that they have to come with that dress code. And this dress code, of course, women are not dressed provocatively. Women are not to expose so much. They can't have their buttocks exposed to the sea. Cannot have their breasts. They cannot be wearing the underwear. Now it's sad that in a climate age that any of us bring up a dress code. That's something should be automatic. Okay. You do not dress like a 3 when you're attending a family function. And yes, family event. Okay. It's an event where parents and grandparents bring in the children. Good evening, Donna. Thank you very much for stopping by. And let me just state that my friend Armando has his YouTube channel where he discusses issues. Of course, he from being a Dominican and things of that nature. So I ask that you show some love for him. Check out his content and stuff. I'm talking about the controversy regarding the Houston rodeo when you have, and again, I'm going to say the term loosely. Yes, that's good. Yes, US peace. That's the thing. It is that it is a sad commentary, actually sad commentary, that women feel so entitled, that feel that they have to dress like a 3 or 4 at a family function. Okay. And people love to talk about men and how men are irresponsible. And there are men that are irresponsible. Okay. But women can be just as irresponsible as men. You want to look, and I'm going to say this, ladies, if you want to dress like a 3 or 4, you can do that. But there's a time and a place for everything. Now, in all fairness, you're all dressed modestly. What does it mean modest? In other words, we shouldn't be showing parts of our body that any physician should see. Okay, and really, women should not be exposing their buttocks and their chest uh, for the whole world to see so they can go, particularly in front of children, when they have to ask, why are they women dressing like that? Okay. Not to mention the trauma that's in being inflicted on children, all because of some empowerment. I mean, you are allowed to practice what you know, what you believe, observe what you believe, and live whatever your life you wish to believe. However, your freedom ends when it interferes in the life of others. If I have children, okay, I want to be able to take them to a family function without having them exposed to women who dress half naked. I don't want my any children or my kids, nephews or nieces or grandnephews and nieces to see half naked women or half naked men. It's inappropriate. And my question is, where is your moral compass? Where is your values, if anything? Now, I'm not saying you can dress whatever you wish, but show a little bit more decorum. Show a little bit more uh, discretion. If you want to look like a lady of the streets, that's fine. Do not do it at a family function. And what these ladies are doing is create another image where black women are reckless, shameless, 304s, sex kittens. And we all know that not all black women are that way. Unfortunately, what happens is whenever these so-called ladies dress provocatively, what it does, it creates an image that women are the same. And that is true. Unfortunately, people who misbehave get more attention than those who behave. And and then these women complain about being sexualized, being treated like treated like a sex object or like a sex toy. Well, if you dress like a whore, you're simple, folks. It is simple. Now, the next thing, of course, um, Chuck Norris recently passed away. In fact, he passed away this week. He was only 86 years old. Of course, Chuck Norris was known for many things. He was known to be a highly professional martial arts individual. He starred in many movies, and of course, he was the main character in Walker, Texas Ranger. And among other things, he was a born again Christian. He gave his life to the Lord, and he had spoken on many uh, areas where when he espoused conservative family values and his Lord Jesus Christ. So, and one thing we do have to bear in mind is that, as stated in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27, uh, it is appointed for all to die, and then after that, the judgment. So Chuck Norris will face judgment. And as a believer, um, your judgment based on the gifts and talents that he used in order to glorify God and to bring souls into his kingdom. And then, of course, there's the other type of judgment, which is the great white throne judgment, where people whose names were not found in the book of life were sentenced to spend eternity away from God's presence. And yes, eternity means eternity. It does not mean second chances. There's no after the grave. If you die without knowing Jesus, barring that you have suffered a mental illness that you were not able to distinguish right from wrong, you will spend eternity away from God's presence. So my condolences to his family. My condolences to his loved ones and friends. But it lived a long life. Okay, he did live to be. Okay, and when you think about it, generally, if you if you live a healthy life, you will live to be 70 or 80 years old. So the fact that he lived to be 86, that speaks a lot. Actually, that was the age that my mother passed away. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, actually, this is, in a way, I find it humorous. Okay, if you go into social media, particularly in things like talk, you see a little women that feel the need to go on social media. Where's the men? Okay. I mean, first of all, when you go around saying that you are a boss chick, when you go on saying that you don't need a man, okay, that you can that you have your degree, that you have your career, that you're self-sufficient, and then you go around saying that you don't need a man. And about that, if you have a choice between choosing a man and a bear, and you choose the bear, well, men are not okay. Most men are not dumb. If you keep constantly telling men not to approach you, not to get near you, okay, and that you don't need men, okay, guess what? We're going to respect your wishes, okay. And this is the thing that I find absolutely bizarre. And I'm going to say that not all women fall into this category, but a few women do. Okay. A traditional man is provider. Okay. They want a traditional man that pays all the bills, that be a protector. But yet, at the same time, they don't want to be traditional wives. They don't want to be traditional women. They want to be modern women. They want to be boss babes. And then you add on top of that the belief that her money is her money to spend in whatever foolish ways possible, and that his money is their money. Okay. Well, you know what? Men are not going to pursue such women. And then when you factor in, unfortunately, there are men that make poor choices. And when I mean poor choices, that they spent their 20s and early 30s, uh, sleeping around and being with a whole bunch of men and having their fun and that, making poor choices regarding who's gonna who's gonna um, have children with. These are all factors why many men have decided, no, thank you. I mean, men already got the memo. They have been told in all so many ways not to approach women, not to get near women. They're heard again and again and again and again. They are boss baits. Okay, this is 2026. Okay, women don't need to be traditional, but yet they want men to be traditional. Okay, I'm sorry, but make it make sense, folks. Please make it make sense. How can you expect a man to be traditional as far as being a provider, as far as being a protector, as far as being a leader? Um, while at the same time, you are not offering anything to return. The only thing that when you ask some of these women what do they bring, they get insulted. Okay, and when you ask them what they bring to the table, their response is, "I am the table," or some of the response, "I have a vagina." I'm sorry, but there's more to life than sex. There's more than life to. A woman with a vagina. That is not the criteria. Okay, and believe it or not, we're not that complicated. What we seek, for the most part, in a relationship is someone that's going to be our peace, someone uh, that's going to be a safe harbor, someone that's going to help build with them, someone that's going to be there when things get rough. Okay. In other words, what some of these women will call struggle love. Now now the problem is this, and again, let me just state this: not all women are like this. Unfortunately, you have women who want a man who's basically a CEO. They want men that are 6 feet tall. They want men that have a six pack. They want men that have a six-figure salary. They want men that can uh, satisfy their every whim. You have women that want men to just basically, you know, give them their whole wallet and let them spend whatever, never mind, and not be concerned about what the man needs. Okay, it is not that complicated. Okay, what a man needs when he's going out there working 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day is to come home to a peaceful environment. Is to come home to an environment where he can discuss with his better half, things that's going on. The last thing he wants to hear is a woman nagging, a woman with unrealistic expectations, women talk complaining about, well, why don't you take me to this place? Why don't you take me to that place? Please. We have a saying in Spanish, I'm going to say it and I'm going to translate it. Mejor queda soltero en vez de ser mal acompañado. Translation: It is better to remain single than be badly coupled. Okay. But it happens because men make poor choices, just like women make poor choices in the men that they pursue. The problem is some of these women, they make poor choices, and then they have the assumption that all men are the same. Or what they'll make it do is they'll make a good man pay for what another man did. So these are reasons why some of these men, many of these men, decided to not to pursue them or chase them. So my question to all those women who chose the bear: how is that working out? Has Boo Boo been there for you? Has Yogi been there for you? Okay. And unfortunately, now I know I know I sound like I'm bashing women, and let me make it perfectly clear. I'm not saying all women are like this. Some aren't. And again, some. But the problem is certain people don't want to hear that. Okay, because that talks about accountability, and unfortunately, for some people, accountability is like kryptonite. Okay, because what that means is you have to examine yourself. You have to look inward to where you made a mistake. You have to look inward as far as where you went wrong. It's easier to blame others. You don't, as long as you blame others, there is nobody. Now, actually, I try to raise this point on another platform, and of course, it was not well received. But the fact that it was not well received does not take away the fact that it exists. Both men and women had made poor choices in their relationships. I know and I have been turned in regards to happened between me and my ex-wife. Uh, so I watched the marriage, and I had to deal with the consequences, and unfortunately, we have to separate. I never explained 100% for the ending of the marriage. I was responsible, but the difference is I take accountability for my actions because that's what adults do. Mature adults do not try to cast blame. Mature adults do not blame others. Mature adults are able to see where they did what they did and take appropriate action. Okay. My apologies. It's just that every now and then I do have to check and see if anyone is watching on Instagram. Okay. There's a few things that I plan to discuss. Um, I probably won't be on more than an hour, maybe less, depending whether or not people hit the link. But the next thing I want to talk about is, of course, change. Something that happens in all our lives, okay? And one of the problems that many people have is people don't like change. People like routines. People feel comfortable doing the same thing multiple times over and over again. What some people don't understand that change is does occur. And a lot of times change is necessary. Okay. For example, um, when you are born, okay, you're not able to feed yourself, dress yourself, remove your uh, body fluids and things of that nature. You need someone to change you, they need someone to feed you. Okay. As you get older, um, you start to learn how to walk, you undergo potty training, and then you learn to go to the bathroom to relieve yourself, so to speak. You learn how to walk, and then go to school. You start to interact with other children, and your parents or whoever is the parental figure, hopefully installing with you values, um, and help you develop a moral compass. And then you go to teenage years, which is it's a challenge itself because you're not. Because you're not a child, but then again, you're not an adult either. But the teenage years, the struggle because many think that they already become adults and they're not. And a lot of times they cite the fact that us older adults don't understand what they go through without them bear in mind that we went through the same thing that they're going through now. The difference between the teenagers now and the teenage, and when I was a teenager, we didn't have, okay, in my day, we didn't have social media. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Snapchat or any or X, which was known as. We didn't have social media to comment on every bloody thing. Nowadays, you have so many different platforms, social platforms, where people can just say the fluff that they want. And of course, we're living in a day and age where everything is got to be posted on TikTok. Okay, every major crisis, every sort of jealousy and envy and things of that nature, and then we have to announce the whole world what's going on in our personal lives. Good evening, people. Yes, please to recognize. Okay. What happened with this episode open discussion is regarding different topics. So now I'm talking about change, something that we all go through and we have to accept. And then after that, we approach young adulthood. Some will go to college, some will work, some will into return. And then we continue with our careers older when we approach our middle age years. in our 30s and 40s. And then as we continue going into the what's called the golden years, we have to adjust as well. Okay. And we have to adjust the fact that as we get older, we have multiple health issues. Also, we dealing with the fact that we have lost loved ones, close friends, either through death or people moving away, and we enter into what's called the seniors. And sometimes those seniors really the fact that people pass away, people have moved on, people no longer maintain close contact with you. So it could be a different, and we all have to adjust. I have to adjust now because now I am approaching my mid-60s. And and of course you are aware that I have lost a huge chunk of my family to death. I lost both parents, 4 of my siblings, 2 of my nephews, and cousins, uncles, and things of that nature. And of course, which person passes away, I am mindful of the fact that tomorrow is not anybody, number one. And number two, that I need to value people that are still remaining in my life. Okay. I have 3 siblings left. I have 2 sisters and a brother. Okay, which I do see I have contact with, plus nephews and nieces. Okay. And I will be eventually retiring. It is next year. Which leads me to the next topic I have is how to keep yourself occupied during your golden years, during the years that you are in retirement. And for some people, it is a challenge, and some people, to be perfectly frank, are afraid to retire because their job has been their life and they don't know what to do. Which is why I've been focusing on what I can do during my retirement years. I mean, I plan to keep myself occupied. Uh, I'm not I am not familiar with it, so I have to look into it. Just that right now, I've been preoccupied because they're moving my unit from our current location in downtown Manhattan to somewhere really deep and far into Brooklyn, which will take me almost 2 hours to get there by public transportation, or more or less the same amount of time taking Access-a-Ride, and then dealing with that situation and trying to help my fellow co-workers with those issues. So I have now have an opportunity to look into that. I will look into it, and if I find anything worthy to discuss, I will share. Okay. Now, now I did no, I did take a look at one of the content on her members only channel. And just to let you know that my friend Gigi has her own YouTube channel, which she also have a membership where you can watch exclusive content. So I will ask that you show some love to her and subscribe. But in one of her videos, of course, she mentioned the infamous Kim 123 and his constant tirade regarding the fact mixed women want to go out with black men and things of that nature, and holding Gigi responsible for that. Um, First of all, people are allowed to date they wish to date. People are allowed to pursue who they wish to pursue. Okay, and that is a fact. And basically speaking, um, I have given a lot of thought. People, like I said, people pursue who they wish to pursue, whether it be because they want a meaningful relationship or they just want to hook up. Okay, uh, that's okay. What concerning to is their business. However, one thing we all have to bear in mind is that we all have consequences for the actions, whether it be good or bad. If we take actions that are positive, it's going to lead to positive results. If we take actions that negative, it's going to lead to negative results. And it's that simple. If you consume alcohol and then you try to operate a vehicle, there's a possibility that you might that your reflex will be slow. There's a possibility that you might injure or kill someone, or you might be killed yourself. If you decide to engage in sexual activity uh, without, you know, raw, as they put it, there are many consequences. First of all, there's the possibility you can get, there's also the possibility that you can get someone pregnant. There's also a possibility that you could be yourself to demonic because what you're doing is when you are engaging in course, creating sexual time with that person. And you do not know influences that may be behind that female that looks so hot, that looks so fine, and you have you choose to exercise your carnal desire. You do not know, okay? And the fact of the matter is, a risk for engaging, exercising your carnal desires. Now, I'm going to say it's not going to be popular, but so be it. Created sex, they're beautiful, but within the confines of marriage. And that's why it is called fornication, which is engage in before marriage, or adultery, which is when you engage in sexual intimacy outside of marriage, and it brings its own consequences. But then again, we live in a day and age when many people do not take accountability for their actions, and unfortunately, for some people, uh, accountability is like kryptonite. Okay. So it looks like no one is going to join me in the panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share one more to discuss, and then after that, I'll start to wrap this up. When I think about things that are going on in politics today, with all the things that's going on with the Republicans and the Democrats, it just makes me the focus on the one thing. When everything is said and done, the only one that can provide an answer to all the issues that we face is the Lord God Almighty. And I know this is gonna sound like a Sunday morning sermon, but then again, it's my channel. I'll say whatever the fluff I want. But the reality is this: I think we have shown in the centuries that when every time that we make a decision outside of God, it never works well. We have thousands of years um, to vouch for us. The fact of the matter is, we're living in a day and age where wrong is good and good is wrong. Okay. It is backwards. It's because people are trying to live their lives without God, and we see the results. We see people who are in addictions. People are living with a void, and they're trying to find anything and everything to fill the void. Not only God can fill. With people that be misled with false beliefs. Now, feminism, I said before, feminism in its original form did try to address many things that were inequities for women. Women could not vote. Women could not enter into businesses. Women could not sign contracts. Women could not run for political office. And as late as 50 some years ago, women be legally forced to engage with intimacy with their husband, even if they did not want to. So, for a time, feminism at least attempted to stop inequities that women face. Where it went south is gotten to the belief where it let to be boss chicks, it let women believe that they need a man, it let women to believe that they can be single mothers, and that they could show up as a single parent as compared to a two-parent household. Now, again, there are many factors for women to become single parents. One of them is death, that the husband or father passes away. Another factor is that the male parental figure abandoned them for whatever reason. Another factor is that unfortunately there are men that physically abuse their wives or their companions, of which they had no other choice but to leave. Um, Everything that I mentioned up to this point is a legit reason why women have become single mothers. Where unfortunately, there are women that make poor choices in becoming, as far as who's gonna be the father of their children. Women make poor choices, just like men have made poor choices. Okay, and that's the reason why we're living in the situation that we live today. What is the solution? Okay, the solution as follows: that both men and women themselves on the authority of God Almighty and work together as a team, where they support each other, where they love each other, where they care for each other, where they have each other's back, particularly when they're going through trials and tribulations, particularly when they face issues regarding health, wealth, or other situations. That is the only solution, okay? And unfortunately, um, when it comes to the Black community, there's issues involved because in many homes, there is no positive male parental, because there have been many women that told the lie that they don't need a man. They just the degrees was important. It was important. Okay, all they have is provide a vagina. Okay, and someone for whatever reason must refuse to touch. Okay. And when I say this, uh, I don't mean to be judgmental, just like stating what is the situation. Are you text? Okay. And believe me, when I do speak, I make it perfectly clear. I'm not saying that every group, but there's some people that I know I come across being judgmental. No, I'm being honest. So, being that no one is going to, I'm going to start to wrap this up. And what I can say is play again. Good evening, Georgia. So I was just having uh, talking about topics. The first thing I was talking about. Okay, thank you. Just let me know. Just let me know in Discord. Um, I don't know if you are aware regarding the situation with the Houston Royal, and you have members of opposite sex dressing like three or four, and as a result, they have to develop a code, make sure that people dress appropriately. And mind you, this is a family created oriented event when you have okay turn usually yeah look, the reality is many them people walking into darkness, they are spiritually dead. Okay. uh because there are many people who are pursuing their own fleshly desires. But definitely look forward to another opportunity to come on your platform, and then we can discuss anything um, that glorifies our Lord. Okay. So, in any case, playback, you're more than welcome to leave whatever comments that you wish. Just try to keep it respectable, folks, because if you are disrespectful, um, they're going to be doing that's simple. You're free to say whatever you wish or type whatever you wish. However, it's my platform. Okay, what comments remain and what comments get deleted. And I will be live on Monday where I'm going to be talking about sin, a Christian concept. Now, I know there are some Christians today that don't discuss sin. They like to focus on God's mercy. They like to focus on grace. However, we need, as believers, to emphasize what is sin. We need as believers to let people know that the wages of sin is death, as stated in Romans chapter 3, verse 23, if I am not mistaken. Also, we as believers, we need to focus. While we need to focus on God's mercy, we must also focus on God's righteousness. And grace is not a license to sin under the assumption that everything is covered. I'm sorry. I know that there are, I'm going to use the term loosely, believers that focus on that. But if you're truly, born again, uh, should be a desire to grow in grace. There should be a desire to grow in the love and nurturing and fear of the Lord. Because the Bible defines the fear of the Lord as the beginning of wisdom. Okay. So we do need to discuss what sin is. I believe Georgia, if you can, we appreciate it. Otherwise, I understand. But in any case, I will this up, and of course, I'm going to close the same way that I always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we'll be infected by the stupidity and less insanity. And of course, everything that we say to do, we should do glory of God. So with that being said, I'm going to wish all of you a very wonderful good night. And rest in peace to Chuck Norris. My condolences go to his friends and loved ones on this passing. And if you're not seek the Lord, and one thing I am this platform, while I am the host, and I am responsible for its content. Um, I strive that what I say and do brings glory and honor to God Almighty. And with that being said, I wish all of you a very wonderful weekend. Stay blessed, and